think to yourself, oh, well, this isn't so bad, right? I can do this. I can do this. And that's what I'm trying to get across to people. It's like, you can do this. I just started the hybrid speaker trainer coaches network, right? And that hybrid speaker coaches trainers network is all about that kind of thing. It's all about like, hey, you used to do you used to do live presentations. You used to talk at schools. You used to, think of all the things that you used to do, right? And we'll publish that right now. Boom, boom, boom. All the links are done. Perfect. And then all of a sudden it dried up, right? COVID came along and there was no way to get your message to the people. And one of the things that I had done, oh, here we go. We got someone coming in. It's Carol. And one of the things that I had done prior to the COVID outbreak was, hi, Carol. Let's see if she's coming. And one of the things that I had done prior to the COVID outbreak was I had built an online academy. And what's real important when you have an online academy is kind of figuring out, okay, this is all of my stuff. This is what I usually talk on. This is what I usually teach. This is what I, and then start cross-referencing that with, this is where I want my people to be when I'm done teaching them, right? You want people to get up to a certain level, right? Well, what we don't understand, or what a lot of people don't understand, is that you think you're taking people from here to here, right? You think it's just a little step, and you think that your presentation, your speech, your whatever it is going to take them from here to here, right? But remember, you have all of this stuff that you want to talk about. Well, here's the issue that a lot of folks are running into, and this is why I went online before the COVID crisis, okay? This is why I thought it was necessary way before this stuff broke out, is because I knew I had this much stuff, right? I knew I had this much, and I want my people to be here. But what I was finding out was that even if their bosses thought they were here, they weren't. They were really down here, right? And so how do I get them from here to here so I can get them to here, right? Think of things in, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So how can I break my content into, elephant-sized pieces? How can I break that down into a way that I can eat that elephant? If I have this much content and the people buying my services for a speech or for a class are willing to give me this much time, with the student, well, how am I gonna get that stuff in there? And so that's what I started to look at. And I said, if I could grow a website, if I could grow a package that allowed me to put this much content in, right? Remember, I got to get on the camera the right way. I have this much content, right? So if I could figure out a way to give them this much online, right? I can take them from here to here. And then when I do my live presentation, I can get to that level that I've been seeking so badly, right? I can get to that point where I want to be. And so that's why I went with the hybrid model. Let me go ahead and close that. That's why I went with that hybrid model before the COVID crisis. Now, the COVID crisis happens, right? And people are freaking out. They're sending people home. They're sending people, away, going home, doing this, working remotely, laying people off, all kinds of panic-related kind of things. And at the end of all that, it's, how are you onboarding people? Like, I've applied for jobs, right? Over the last 4 or 5 months, I've applied for some jobs and some gigs and some contracts. And man, you don't hear from people for months because they're not plugged in anymore, right? They're not connected the way they should be. And so you need a tool, whether you have a very small company or you've got something you're trying to launch, you need a tool that does a better job of connecting people. One of my favorite books from John C. Maxwell is Everybody Communicates, Few Connect, right? And so I wanted to find a way to help people connect. And so I've put together, I'm a WordPress power user. I love to use WordPress. And so I put together a package that basically encompasses a set amount of plugins that, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So here's the magic of it. I used to make a ton of mistakes. And when I made those mistakes, thankfully I learned from them, right? And now I've got a really nice package of things I put together, not just for myself, but I've done this for other clients as well, that I can put together that allows me to host my learning content. Remember this, right? So I can host my learning content. Now, how do I connect, right? Communicate and connect. So how do I connect? Well, then I put a customer resource manager in the background of that website. And what's nice about that is if I send it directly from my website, it's a root URL situation. That means that if you click on a link in a Mañana No Mas newsletter, it goes to a Mañana No Mas link. It goes to a Mañana No Mas picture. It goes to a Mañana No Mas message, right? And you would say, well, besides branding, what does that do? Well, that can help. Certain search engines might take the third-party links out or look at them as being spam-oriented or something like that, right? So I want people to be able to experience everything within the framework that I've built. And remember, when you link things to third-party sites, you have no control over those sites. You don't know if they're going to keep those links active or shut them down or change them, right? And so if I'm going to share content with my people, I want to make sure I kind of have some control over what that content is. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that it does. Carol is one of the only ones that's on the Zoom live. So we're going to go ahead and hit her with a hello, Carol, in comments there. Make sure that she knows I know she's there. I'm glad you made it, Carol. I liked our conversation, and I think it's awesome that you're building this learning thing for music. And if you need help with your web developers, Carol's in a position where she has someone else developing a website for her. So if you need me to talk to your web developers or to give them some links, I can totally do so. Hopefully you can see the links that I put into the chat ahead of time. And if not, they're also in my Facebook chat. So if you need that, just let me know later and I can share whatever resources you need with your people to go over this. All right, I want to put you at ease there. Now, on the other channels that are following, I know that there's some diverse ways that people are looking to use this content. We've had a lot of people register that are, and no judgment at all. If you're running like an OnlyFans site, or you're doing modeling, or you're trying to grow a speaker business, either anyway. I've even got a customer that's using this technology that I'm going to show you for building a learning and membership site. I have a client that wants me to build him a site that's for like booking trips. So think about how that works, right? I'm able to take a course, right? I'm able to take a course and assign it to a group of people. And then I'm able to assign like a manager or an administrator to that group so they can oversee their own groups. So how awesome is that? Now imagine I could do the same thing with activities, right? Let's say somebody has a thing where, you can go mountain biking, skateboarding, snowboarding, go out for coffee, have Sunday brunch, and there's all these different activities, right? I can pick from the menu of activities and then assign that group of activities to a group of people. Same thing I would do with courses. I just have to rename the code in the back of the site so that it says, activities instead of courses and stuff. But there's all kinds of ways to use this kind of technology. So I want to try and get people excited about what we're doing, okay? Like I said, my name is Kurt Von Annen. I'm with Mañana No Mas. My core niche, my core passion is to help power sports dealers and marine dealerships grow their service business. So you hear that and you go, well, then why is this guy talking about websites? Well, because I've been building websites for 20 years. And there's a lot of companies and a lot of corporations I help on that side of the aisle as well. But my focus when I grow my personal business, Mañana No Mas, is grown as a power sports and marine consulting company. And then I do the web projects contractually on the side. So the reason I wanted to do the webinar was to help folks in this period, in this time, because I saw it as a need and I wanted to fill the gap. Right? So hopefully that puts people at ease so you know who I am, what I do, and why I do it. Now, with no further ado, I would like to say, hey, let's jump in and do a shared screen and go into some of the presentation here. I will share the screen. There we go. And there we go. It looks like we are sharing the screen that I want to share. So, so that's good. So Mañana No Mas, getting it done yesterday. That's my catchphrase. That comes from a long history and a long story. Some other time we will share that with you. For me, just so you know, it's all about getting things done, meaning don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. And I launched this company in New Mexico, which is why it has the name that it has, right? I'm a married guy. I've got kids. It's kind of funny. I've been doing this whole LinkedIn promotion lately, and I've been basically offering every new connection on LinkedIn a 15-minute meeting with me. And I've had a couple of ladies respond and go, I even had one say, what do you want the meeting for? Do you think I look like a prostitute? I was blown away, right? Absolutely hilarious. No, heavily involved with family, church, the whole thing. Love all that. Web power user, right? So that's why I have the ability to give the session that we're given today. The reason I put entrepreneur and corporate guy too is a lot of times you go to a conference room and you sit across from a bunch of people, and some people have been corporate people their whole lives. Some people have been entrepreneurs. At my last company, there was only me and like two other people in the whole company that had worked at motorcycle dealerships before. So that the conference room would be a buzz with, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make the dealers this, we're going to make the dealers that. And I'm like, you guys have never worked at a dealership, so how are you going to have, how do you have that point of view, right? And so I wanted to let you know, I do know what it's like to be an entrepreneur, but I've also been on the corporate side. I have very successfully sold these types of packages that I'm going to show you today to larger corporations. And I will tell you that, if you get good at putting these packages together and building the value of how the package works together, there's a value to this. There's a huge value to this, especially if the content is strong. So if you write your own content to please a company, because I do a lot of the writing that goes in the projects I do. If you're able to do the copywriting, oh my goodness, the sky's the limit, right? And so I wanted to give you kind of that optimism, right? Like even during the COVID crisis, you could figure out a way to promote this and make something for yourself, okay? I wrote a book called Service Writing in Black and White, and that's how I got to be a trainer in the power sports and marine field. I used to race motorcycles, right? So people say, why is he so excitable? Why is he so loud? Why does he keep talking so fast? Well, I think it's just part of the game, right? Because I raced motorcycles for a long, came out of high school. I, raced bicycles, raced motorcycles, very competitive, right? And then the speaker, trainer, coach thing. I have been a John Maxwell certified leader, trainer, and speaker since 2016. And I've been addicted to his content for years and years and years. Okay. Now, here's what we need to figure out. Okay. As you are taking notes, or as you are looking at possibly a replay of this, or, sharing what you may have learned during this session with others, it's really, really important to understand that the packages I'm going to show you are extremely powerful and have lots of options. So before you touch the keyboard and start adding stuff to your project, what you want to do is really set some expectations, right? What do you want the site to do? Who's your avatar? Who are you making this content for? You might think, you're making the content for, grade school kids. You might think you're making the content for housewives. You might think you're making the content for, Forbes 500 executives. But what you want to do is you want to set those expectations, right? And there's so many things to think about. So I said, what do you want your learning management site to do, right? So what do you want a learning management site? You want it to manage people, manage students. You want to know who took a course, who completed a course. And then you have to think, do I want to gamify that, right? Do I want to reward people for taking the course and gain momentum with them through interactivity? Or is this like a mandatory thing and you're building it for a company and people have to take it regardless, right? Maybe gamification is not a thing you have to worry about. Are you going to be selling courses? Because if you're selling courses, that's going to be like you're selling information, right? You're selling digital content. Are you going to be selling services? Are you going to be going out and doing public talks, speeches? Are you selling activity, right? That's one thing to think about. And then lastly, are you selling goods? Like for instance, I got these great Mañana No Mas coffee mugs, right? If I were to put these on the website, they would be goods. And the reason I bring that up, there's multiple ways to set up your website for e-commerce. And you need to know before you set things up which channel you want to be on. So if I wanted to sell goods and coffee mugs and t-shirts and things like that, I might consider plugging in that WooCommerce plugin that comes with the package, right? So WooCommerce will allow me to sell goods. WooCommerce will allow me to sell basically anything within the website. I build a shopping cart in there, use WooCommerce, and off it goes. But if I'm not going to sell the goods, if I'm only going to sell the courses, I don't need to confuse or expand the complexity of the website, because The base program for the learning management system has an e-commerce model built into it. And then that question comes up, right? The next question is billing. Do I want to do it, is it once and done, or am I doing a subscription model? Again, another important question. If I'm going to do just once and done, right? And let's say I already have an established PayPal account, which I used to have. Remember I said learning from my mistakes? So I set everything up as PayPal, thinking, oh, no problem, no brainer, no problem, no brain, right? Then I started doing the subscription model, and the website let me set up the subscription model, and off I was going. And then on the second month, when people were supposed to get tagged again for their credit card, it didn't go through. And I was like, what's happening? Something's wrong. I had to go back and troubleshoot it and figure out what was going on. And here's what was going on. PayPal wouldn't let me set up a subscription model. They have subscription models available, but you have to qualify for them. So I filled out the questionnaire. I put in like a budget of what I thought the site was going to generate, right? Which is a fair amount of money. I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. It shouldn't be based on my credit score because I'm taking money from other people, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how they make these decisions. But they said, no, they said, you don't qualify to do subscriptions at this time, which was a real bummer since I already had the website set up. So then I did some more research and I found out that Stripe would allow me to set up the subscription model with no headaches. It was as simple as copy and paste this code. So I copied, paste the code, boom, converted the whole website to Stripe instead of PayPal. PayPal loses out on that commission from a couple $100,000. And I'm just blown away that PayPal would sit back and let that happen, would let a competitor, especially a newer competitor, than them come up and take their client like that. I'd been with PayPal forever, but those are the types of things. Those are the mistakes that I learned from that hopefully I can share with you, right? Blogging. Do you want your website to be able to host blogs and content in a first in, first out file kind of setup? I say that because a lot of people don't, right? So then you have this weird kind of, awkward orphaned page inside your website that's got like no content in it, right? So you want to make sure that when you're building your website, if blogging is not part of the plan, go ahead and take that page, take that functionality right out. You don't need something to distract you. If you're going to build a bunch of static pages or a community within static pages and not use blogs, well, then that might be a really good avenue for you to explore, right? Customer relations management, big thing, right? Again, learn from my mistakes. I had played with so many things. I had played with 3 or 4 different CRM tools, right? Zoho and all these things that they say they're free, and then you start using them, and then you find out you got to pay for so many people, or you got to pay for so many emails, or you got to pay for whatever. Remember, the best things in life are not free, right? So I had to find a way to manage the people that were in my website and then manage my prospects for my website. And then I wanted to find a way to kind of combine those two lists and use it as like a newsletter base, right? So I could keep promoting out. And that's when I found Groundhog. And Groundhog's fairly new to the game, but man, they've already got over 1,000 installs and they're doing really well. And their customer service is top notch. Adrian Toby, great dude. He does live office hours every week on a Facebook page. I mean, just post it out public, right? This is how this works. And he goes through and he shows you how everything works. So Groundhog is my action for that. Data collection. If you're running an online academy, you need your students to be able to interact with you, right? Now, the package I'm going to show you has a thing called private areas. That's nice because it allows the student and the teacher or the instructor to have a kind of a private blogging area where they can exchange information back and forth on a private channel. That's really nice, right? But let's say I want to get information from the student. I want them to fill in information in a form, or I want them to submit a file to me. Well, that's where I use my WP Forms Pro, right? So WP Forms Pro allows me to take information and gather that from my students. And then of course, I use the Groundhog thing for membership management, lead magnets, and things like that. When we talk about membership management, I want to kind of set something, I want to put a seed in you right now before we get too far. Think about, you have all these courses, right? Like right now, Mañana No Mas has 14 courses in it, right? Those 14 courses can sometimes be chopped up into groups. And so I have a group that does fitness and goal setting. I have a group that does personal development. I have another group that's for power sports and marine service training. And so what I do is I use memberships to group those products together. So if someone wants to say, become a member of my power sports fixed operations network, well, if they join that membership, they get access to like 5 different courses, right? And then if someone joins my all access pass, they get access to, I think it's 12 out of the 14 courses, because I give them everything I've got except for the stuff that's specifically for fixed operations, because that's a special niche group of mine. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So think in levels, thinking like, here's my stuff. Now, how do I, group it together? And then who do I sell that to, right? And that's kind of a way that I process that level of thought inside my site. This is the magic. So if you are in here now, I encourage you to take a screenshot. I encourage you to steal this information right off of my screen while you can. I self-host all of my WordPress sites, so this is going to come up, and this is going to come with argument, and I'm ready for that. It's okay. Some folks love Udemy. Some folks love Kajabi. Some folks love, Learn Upon. Some people love Bridge. Some people love there are over 150 different learning management systems that I've looked into in the past. Okay. I personally love self-hosting my learning content in my own WordPress website. Here's why. If I self-host my WordPress website, it's mine. I have it. I own it. I own the platform. It's done, right? It's open source software. It's free to use. I host the space, right? So I buy the space and I put my stuff on it, and it's mine. If I go through a third party, a Kajabi, a Udemy, or whatever, that platform's not mine. So if they make changes, or if they alter something along the process, or all of a sudden some of the links or some of the plugins or some of the things that I want to use with that product all of a sudden don't work, or they change the pricing policy on how to use it. Let's say the CRM side of Kajabi changes, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, now you have to pay $1.50 for every email you send. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but let's say if it did happen, that would change the whole economic model that you've built your entire business on. So when you're starting out, I really like the idea of starting out and using WordPress, self-hosting it, and having control over what goes in it. Okay. So from there, Astra is a great compatible and flexible theme. If you are new to WordPress, just listen to me now, right? There's hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know, unlimited options for themes that you can put into WordPress, and you'll get distracted. You'll see these beautiful mock-ups of beautiful websites, and it'll say, download this theme now. Worse, it'll say, download this theme for $69. And then you'll download it, and you'll activate it, and you'll go, where's the beef, right? And that's because the theme is like, it's visual, but it's just the framework, right? And so you have to put your content into it to expand it. And when you put all your content in, it may or may not look like that beautiful sample, right? So bear with me on this. Again, this is one of those learning through the years, right? If we're going to do a Lifter LMS website, and we're going to import Groundhog, and we're going to put, Zoom right into the website, then Astra is a great compatible and flexible theme. The next thing I'm going to do is put in Elementor right on top of that. Okay. Elementor is a page builder. And when I go into Elementor, I'm able to, within that Astra frame set, load in templates and build the pages that I want to build. So what I typically do is I build kind of the framework of how I want the whole site to look. And then when I want to build like an independent landing page for a specific product or lead generator, well, then I use the template importer in Elementor to do something different and something special that looks a little different, right? And so those are the two tools that I really leverage quite a bit. Now, to the core part of the site, making the site work, right? I get a fresh install of WordPress. I put in Astra, I put in Elementor. The next thing I'm going to put in is Lifter LMS, right? So I go and I grab Lifter LMS. Now, when I'm talking like this and you're going, what is he talking about? You go down the menu on the left side of your website in the dashboard, you go to plugins and you go add new, right? So when you say add new, that's going to allow you to get the plugins. The plugins are Elementor, Lifter LMS, WP Form, Groundhog, WP Send, right? Those are all things that you can get right off the plugin menu, right through your own dashboard in your website, and you can load it directly into your website. So you're going to go ahead and download those and activate those. Okay. Now, I always recommend that people get the Infinity Bundle with Lifter LMS. And people are going to say, Kurt, that's a lot of money. Well, you know, might seem like a lot of money. I ain't going to lie. It's going to seem like a lot of money, especially if you're just starting out. I will tell you this. I know companies that pay over $100,000 for a learning management website, and that's without having the content for it. So before you say, oh, that's a lot of money, you got to know what it's in comparison to, right? And here's what you get. When you do the Infinity Bundle, you get all of the options that I'm talking about, right? So you're going to get, you know, do I want to use WooCommerce? Do I want to use Stripe? Do I want to use PayPal? I got private areas. I've got social learning. You know, all these things come with it. Not only that, you also get access to the mastermind meeting that Chris hosts every Thursday, right? And that is the power of association. When you buy into a community, when you have the power of association, that's when things can come to life for you. You know, when you're building out your project and you go, well, this doesn't work or that doesn't work, or I can't figure this out. How cool is it that you can go click into a meeting on Thursday at 1 o'clock and go, okay, fellas, I got a question. And you throw out your question, and then a group think gives you a solution on that, right? That's really cool. So Lifter LMS and Groundhog both do that. So I think that that's really, really important that you sign up for the Infinity Bundle on Lifter LMS and you take the package on Groundhog. You're gonna sign up for Groundhog, and then he's gonna send you a coupon in your email. I think he's still doing that. Then you use the coupon and you buy the access. And when I bought in, I think it was like $480 for the year. And I'm gonna say, yeah, that sounded like a lot of money until I looked at what I was paying MailChimp. If you have a mail list that goes over 2,000 people or 2,500 people on MailChimp, you're at $50 a month anyway, which is $600 a year, right? So it's cheaper than MailChimp, and it works inside my own website. So those are kind of the things that I use there. Now, WP Send, great question, right? If I'm going to send email through my own website, then why do I have to have this WP Send thing? When you send stuff through your own SMTP, through the back end of your server, your host, or there's a myriad of other issues that may prevent your emails from getting out when you want them to get out and as cleanly as you want them to get out. They might end up in a lot of spam boxes. So WP Send is only $10 a month, and it assists or supercharges your email so that it goes out quickly to who you want, when you want, how you want, right? So WP Send is a great thing for $10 a month to put on top of Groundhog and make sure that it works. Now, Groundhog just released a package called Mailhawk, right? And Mailhawk is, and I'm not going to say it's from Groundhog, but Adrian Toby, the guy that runs Groundhog, is also part of Mailhawk. And I'm sure that 6 months or a year from now, my advice might change and I might say to go with Mailhawk, but I haven't had a chance to check it out myself yet. And I only recommend things that I try personally, right? So WP Send is my jam. Now, Calendly. I use Calendly and I embed it in my website. And I do that to make appointments with people because the calendar function inside Groundhog isn't as clean and it doesn't have widespread adoption. What I like about using Calendly is if someone else has Calendly and I send them a Calendly request and they go to make an appointment, Calendly syncs it with their calendar. So it'll say, here's the times that Kurt's available and here's the times that you're available that don't conflict, right? And then they can schedule right in that same screen without having to go back and forth between their own calendars or run the risk of double booking themselves. I've noticed some other people use different calendar tools in their websites. And, you know, it'll say, oh, you know, pick a time that works for you. And then I got to open my other calendar and I got to go, okay, am I busy here? Am I busy there? Right? But the folks that use Calendly, everything just syncs and works. And there's a wholesale adoption on Calendly. Plus the embed tools on Calendly are really easy to use. If you're a Calendly user, you just go right to your menu and you click embed and it gives you the code and you can put that right into your website. And so if you go to the homepage of the Academy at Mañana No Mas, you will see that at the bottom of the page is my Calendly embed that just allows people to, you know, select a meeting with me. And that's one of those fantastic things. In fact, I think Carol and I first connected on a Calendly connection. So when you want to install all this stuff, and I'm going to take just a hair of a break here on the screen share. Okay. Oh my goodness. She said, I don't see anything. Thank you so much. I never thought of that. All right. Let's see. Carol, were you able to see in the end? Because I missed the chat because I was on a screen share.
Oh no, I saw it all. I was just responding to some of your earlier comments.
Oh, okay. No worries.
No
And
problem.
if I look distracted, like I'm looking at other screens, it's because the live is being broadcast elsewhere and I don't want to miss someone else's comments. So I'm kind of digging back and forth, but I wanted to make sure that, that I'm meeting people's needs. Were you able to see the links that I had posted earlier?
Yes.
Okay,
oh,
perfect.
Not the one. That's what I was saying. I didn't see anything that was in the
chat
box. Yeah, I did not see anything there. That's what that was for.
Fantastic. Is everything making sense so far? Am I saying things in a way that makes sense?
You're making sense. Some of the things I don't understand because it's a little over my pay grade. But yeah,
it's okay. Oh, cool. And I got someone else trying to get in too. Let me double check with that. Okay, we're good there. Perfect. And nice. Things are moving right along. All right. My big thing is making sure I don't leave people hanging in the wings too long. A lot of these people that are really experienced at doing these types of seminars and webinars, they have co-hosts and all kinds of people helping them. And then I go through these things on my own and I'm like, hey, bear with me while I try and figure out what I'm doing this minute. But good. I'm going to go back into the screen share and I'm going to go through the process of what it looks of how I do a clean install. So people understand what's the order of success. Because sometimes if you put these things in, you don't follow the order, things kind of conflict with each other. Things will kind of, not prevent things from working, but it won't be as clean. So I'm going to go through my process on a clean install. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the view from the presentation over to the Mañana No Mas website. And I'll show you the back end. I'll just kind of pull back the curtain and let people see how I have things set up and how things work. Because to talk about it in a presentation is one thing, but to actually see the dashboard or see how people activate things is a little bit different. So, and again, to the folks that are watching live on Facebook, I am thankful that you guys found that because the connection to YouTube failed to take action this morning. That is the first time that Zoom didn't go through to YouTube. I moved everything to YouTube last month because Facebook was failing. And now it's totally ironic that I set up this webinar and it's on Facebook because YouTube failed. So I'm glad I've got both channels working and people know how to find me either way. So for those of you that popped over to Facebook, thanks for your resiliency and sticking it out and getting there. So if you guys are all set, let's jump back into the screen share. We'll go over the clean install of how to do things in my Bluehost, and then we'll jump into the website so you can kind of see what the back end of that looks like. All right. So we should be back on my process on a clean install. Startup projects go in Bluehost. Now, I said it earlier, but for people that came in later, all of my originating projects, and so I got to say this, and I really got to stress this. It is so tempting to go, oh, I got to be on WP Engine. I got to be on Kinsta. There's all these ways to host a website. And if you know that you're going to have 10,000 people in this thing in 3 months, well, then do it. Go into WP Engine, go into Kinsta, and get yourself some premium WordPress hosting right out of the chute. But from experience, I'm going to tell you that having thousands and thousands of users right out of the chute typically doesn't happen. Okay. And so my advice, especially when there's a new project or a proof of concept, is to use Bluehost. Bluehost, out of all of the entry-level server products that I've tried, is the most complete with the best customer service and the most friendly control panel and one-click installs to get things done. So, and it's so cheap. I think it's $120, $130, $35. I think it's $135 for the first year, and that includes a URL registration, right? And so I use Bluehost. And like I said earlier, I've got an affiliate package for that. So if you haven't reserved your hosting yet, You can jump in there, use my affiliate link, and then that helps compensate me for the free stuff I share with you today. So reserve your URL, assign your URL to the server, and then install WordPress. When you are in Bluehost, it's going to ask you right on the page before you install WordPress. It's going to say, do you want to use Monster Insights and Jetpack, right? And WP Forms is part of that too. And so I would automatically say yes, right? Yes, I'm going to take those. Jetpack does a lot of stuff in the background, helps you with, site stats and things like that. Monster Insights is a more visual, easier way to connect your Google Analytics to your website, and that works really, really well. And then what you want to do is you want to sign into the administrator's back end of the website. Once the website's installed, you'll be able to sign in either using the username and password that you selected when you installed the site, or right at the install page, it's going to give you a link. It'll say access WordPress, and you can just go right in through there and access your site and go right in like that. If you choose to do so, you can access your website that way all the time. You can sign in through Bluehost, and then you can access any of your WordPress properties directly that way. I know a lot of web developers that'll do that when they have multiple projects. They'll land that out there like that. Okay. If you go to the themes, you're going to install Astra. Now, themes is under appearance on the left side of your menu. I'll show you that in the back end of my website when I give you the tour of the site. Okay. But you're going to go in and you're going to select Astra. Now, caveat, remember I said learn from my mistakes. Okay. My website, Mañana No Mas and the Mañana No Mas Academy, is not built on Astra. I built this website long ago. I think I even built it before Astra came out. And I've been able to find workarounds and find ways to make everything work for me. But it would have been so much quicker and less painful to just download Astra and make that work. Remember, I said Astra is already compatible with Lifter LMS. And there's a couple of others that are already compatible with Lifter LMS. If you go to the Lifter LMS website under resources, you'll see that they've listed out some popular themes that I think there's one called Kaleidoscope that Chris is real excited about now. And Chris is the guy that runs Lifter LMS. But, and he really likes that. But I've been using Astra for a long time on multiple websites. I like the way that it's laid out, and you can build a really crisp, clean presentation in there. And then, like I said, if you install Elementor, just the free version's fine. You don't need to pay for Pro, right? But if you get the free version of Elementor in there, well, now you've got, a real graphical, editable format to change your layout and to change what you need to change, right? So the combination of Astra and Elementor make it real easy to make your website look the way you want it to look. And that to me is huge. So many times I'll work with clients and they'll be like, oh, can you move this widget down here? And can you move this over here? And can this title be this? And when I use Astra and Elementor, I have the freedom to move stuff around where I need to move it. And that's important, right? And then I put another note in there to please use the, there we go. All right. Use the Lifter LMS link and purchase the Infinity Bundle. Again, huge. Now, Lifter LMS has a free package. I'm going to throw it out there right now. If you want to experiment and you want to play with having a learning management system in the back end of a website, well, then using the free, they call it freemium, right? The freemium example, you get the core product and you can host courses and lessons in there. It doesn't cost you a thing, right? But when you want to take things to another level and like run a business selling lessons in a website, you want to get to the infinity level. You want to have access to those other plugins, and you want to make sure that you have the support that you need if things go wrong, or if you get too far into the weeds that you need someone to give you some advice with, right? So Infinity is definitely the way to go on that. Remember the lifter choices that I had mentioned before about setting expectations. So you got to know, what are you selling? Are you selling goods? Are you selling services? Are you selling information? And then that determines which plugins I'm going to leverage to build the e-commerce side of my website out, right? Remember, if I'm going to sell t-shirts and coffee mugs, man, I'm going to put in WooCommerce and I'm going to build that shopping cart. If I'm going to just sell courses, which is what I do on Lifter, which is what I do on Mañana No Mas, I'm just going to use the Lifter LMS e-commerce tool, and then I'm going to power that with Stripe or PayPal. And again, remember the advice I gave you. If you're already an existing PayPal customer and you've got a relationship with PayPal and you're happy with PayPal, great. But if you want to do subscriptions, you have to get yourself pre-authorized for PayPal first, or just switch over to Stripe and move your whole model over to Stripe, and you can take, pardon me, you can take subscriptions right out of the chute. Before I get too far into the weeds on subscriptions, remember, there are different successful ways to market your courses if you're selling courses, right? If you are selling courses, you could say, hey, give me one payment of $1,000, right? So that's a single payment, no problem. You could say, okay, you get access for a year, $100 a month, okay? So now they're gonna pay you $1,200 for the year instead of $1,000, right? And but it's going to be $100 a month, and so that's the subscription model. But remember, you also have the ability, you could say, hey, for $420 a month over 3 months, you know, you could finance it, right? You could say, hey, you're going to finance this, I'll give you a year's access for 4 equal payments of $300, right? You could do it that way too. And so if you're going to play with these models and play with these different e-commerce strategies, then you're definitely going to want to be in an environment like Stripe that allows you to set up the payment thing, whereas PayPal may or may not assist you in that area, and you won't know until it's too late unless you get ahead of the game first. All right. Now, I'll share the back end of my screen. That's kind of that was kind of the big talk there, right? I'll share the back end of my screen, and I'll show you what it's like to build courses and how easy this can work out. Okay. Now, I'm going to go stop the screen share, and we'll go to another screen share for another screen, and I'll probably show you my Facebook page, which I wasn't going to show you. All right, here is where people came into the webinar today. So that was cool there. This is my, let's go back to the home page. So this is what people see when they come to my website. Now, obviously the top bar up here, that's all the administrator stuff, right? So hopefully if you haven't seen the inside of a WordPress site yet, this is for the administrator. You know, your readers don't see this up here. And here's an interesting point that a lot of people forget. If you're using a cache tool, if you've downloaded a cache tool, or if your web host provides you with a cache tool with your WordPress install, anytime you make changes in your website, you want to make sure that you hit clear cache, right? And this is, I'm going to cover some housekeeping here too, right? So I want to make sure that you guys understand how to use your site the best way possible. And so when I clear the cache, I can clear the cache of this page, I can delete the cache, or I can delete the cache and the minified CSS. I want to clear the cache for everything. Now, what cache does is cache like stores an image of your website so it loads faster the next time, right? So if I'm making changes to my website and I'm expecting my students or my subscribers to see the changes to my site, they're not going to see them unless I delete the cache and everything has to reset, right? Does that make sense? So hopefully that works. Now, here's an interesting thing. I had a lot of people reach out to me that were, you know, models or photojournalists or musicians, right? And they were like, hey, how could I use, you know, a learning site or a course site for what I do? And here's a interesting thing. Let's say I'm a model and I've got a photo shoot in Paris, a photo shoot in Italy, a photo shoot in Florida, and a photo shoot in California. I can take those different photo shoots and I can build the content under courses. Okay. And you can change the titles. It doesn't have to be courses. It could say photo shoots, right? It could say photo shoot locations. And then you could have photo shoot locations. And then each course could be its own photo shoot. Each lesson in the course could be a different attire or background or prop, right? So let's say Paris, right? So you could have a lesson that's titled Eiffel Tower, a lesson that's entitled, oh, I can't remember the name of that it's on the river. It's the big museum. I forgot the name of it. But anyway, you could have these different locations, right? The beach, the river, the bridge, the boom, 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 boom. Each lesson could be a different section of that photo shoot, right? So now you have a bunch of venues for the photo shoot in a common area. And then you have the name of the common area, which is Paris, right? And then that's your lessons and your course. So that could be your backgrounds and your photo shoot. And then if somebody was going to buy like a membership to your content, you would be able to say, hey, you can buy a membership to my Paris and my Fiji, right? You could buy a membership to my Paris and my Fiji photo shoots for this much. You could buy a membership to my Paris, my Fiji, my Florida, and my Los Angeles photo shoots for this much, right? And so there's all different ways that you can manage content and manage the distribution of this content and monetize it, right? So for those of you that are on the model agency websites, if you're on, OnlyFans or any of these other things, instead of paying a third party to manage this content and build your subscriber base, you could be managing your own content, building your own subscriber base, and making 100% of your sales rather than giving somebody else a high percentage of it. Same thing with music. I could have, music from a concert venue, the different songs that I played at that concert venue, and then I could sell memberships to this concert or these concerts or all of my performances, right? And so there's so many different ways to use these tools to build membership, to build community, and to share information or product, right? So let's go into that. When you are on the homepage of Mañana No Mas, I can build this out like any static homepage. Remember, I said I use Groundhog to grow my list, right? My customer relations management. This right here is a form that I built within Groundhog. So it's hosted on my own website. When someone fills this out, they enter the funnel to join my newsletter, right? And then that information inside my customer relations management, it adds a tag to each user that says newsletter. And so when I make a new newsletter every week, that's how people get tagged in that and get sent that information. And then standard stuff. Remember I mentioned Calendly. Calendly, I've embedded my schedule maker right here on my homepage so that people can access that. Now, remember when I said put in Elementor, and if you put in Elementor, you can edit things graphically. So if we go to edit with Elementor, and all of your pages that are editable will have this edit with Elementor option up there once you install Elementor on your page. That opens up a separate editing window. It's different from the editing window that is in WordPress, and you can see it's very graphical. So here's the website, as it functions, and you can see the links are still links, right? Everything still functions in there. And I can add or take out or edit anything I want to take out. And so here's a good example. See the blue boxes that come up around everything? That means that's what I'm selecting, right? So if I click in that box, here comes this. And you'll notice this is in different sizes, right? Get the newsletter by subscribing here. So let's say I want to fix that. So here is this is the stage. This is where all of your changes are seen. And then over on the left is where you make the changes. This is your work center, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take that out and I'm going to say, okay, now we're going to fix that. Okay. So now it says get the newsletter by subscribing here. Okay. So anytime I make changes in my website, anytime I want to go all the way down to where it says update, I'm going to click update. You're going to see the spinning wheel of death here. And it takes a little bit because it's working. It's doing some stuff. And when that stops, I'm going to go back up to the top and I'm going to click exit to dashboard. Okay. Now what this is going to do is this is going to take me right back to the WordPress editor, right? And this is where my homepage was built originally. But now that I build it in Elementor, I edit in Elementor, right? But just because I made the save in Elementor doesn't mean I made the save in WordPress. So now I just click, whoops, let me move my face down. There we go. And I'll click update right here. And in case you don't see that where it says move my face down, that's where the thumbnail is from my Zoom presentation. So now we see it's updating here, it says saving, and now I can view the page by clicking view page. And here is our repaired headline, okay? I didn't make a bunch of examples to go fix for you guys. That was it. So I wanted to show you how easy it was to make changes, visible changes in Elementor. I can see the changes as I make them when I use Elementor, which is really nice. Now, remember, this thing's been cached, all over the world already, right? And so different server farms and different redundancies all over the internet cause this thing to be saved. And so what I want to do so that everyone can see my update, see my change, is I want to delete the cache, right? Once I delete the cache, that resets everything. So if someone else like in Thailand was looking at this website at this time, they'll be able to see that difference right there, okay, that we just made. And so that is basically the benefit of using a simple, like I said, a simple theme, and then using Elementor to make the changes. Now, we'll go back in here and I want to show you how to use the template from Elementor with your basic theme, okay? So I'm going to say add a new page. Okay. So when I have a new page, I'm going to call this one Carol because Carol is on the live with us, and we'll call this the Carol sample. Okay. So Carol sample is the name of the page, and I'm going to edit with Elementor. And I'm not going to put a lot of time into this, folks. I just want to show you how flexible this is and how easy it is once you have the right tools in the right place. You see, this is my whole website. This is the basic structure of what a theme does for me, right? I get the black lines. There's my header, and there's my footer, and here's my main menu, right? Very simple theme. Now, if I click on that folder, it's going to give me access to different themes or different templates that Elementor has available. Now, the ones with the pink tag on them, they're pro versions, right? Remember I said stick with the free version, right? So let's insert one. I just picked one and I'm inserting, right? Now this takes some time, so we got to be patient. But right here where it says loading, it'll take a little bit of time, and it's taking here. Remember I said earlier, when you download a function, when you download something from WordPress as a theme, you see a beautiful picture of the theme, but then when you activate it, like all the beautiful parts are gone, right? That's typically how that happens. What's cool about Elementor is Elementor keeps it, right? So everything that I just downloaded or everything that I just activated is in there, right? And so let's go over to, I'll show you how simple this is. Let's go over to, I'll lower that, my YouTube. Let's see. Oh, that might be why things aren't working so good. Let's go to Mañana No Mas. There we are. Now we're in there. I should probably try and turn off Facebook and go into YouTube, but we're not going to do that right now. So let's say here's my testimonial for Dave Gambrell, right? I'd like to give him some props anyway. So I want to take the link from that. Boom. Copy the link. And I want to go back to the website and see where this video is. I want to change that video. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to simply change the link. And when I change the link, it's going to come over and put in my stuff. When I want to change this heading, I can say, thanks, Susan, for coming to the live. All right. And that way, when Susan is on the live and she sees me playing with this inside the sample for Carol, she's going to be like, oh, he didn't forget about me either, which is fantastic. And I can change anything I want on the page, right? Hopefully you guys get the idea what's going on here. If I want to do like change a button, I can go in to edit the button. I can add an icon to it if I want. I can say, give me a couple of OK signs. Boom, there's my OK signs. I can change what it says. I'll say here, Steve is awesome. Look what's happening to the button, right? The button's growing as I'm typing. So it's a responsive element, which is really cool. And then if I want to change the link, I can change the link over here on the top left. You can see me typing away, right? mañananomas.com. Okay, so now I've changed it to Steve is awesome, a couple of OK signs, and it links to mañananomas.com. If I wanted to change the size and the color of this, I could do so right here. Let's say we want to make it red. Boom, now it's red. Okay. Everything is visual. Everything happens over here on the left side and then shows you the result right away on the right side. And then I say publish. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things I want to show you here. And this is, after you get your theme installed and after you get Elementor installed, you got to look around at some things. Here, we're going to say, have a look, have a look. And so the web page that I just made, Carol's sample, is already done. It's right here, right? Here's the shout out to Dave Gambrell. Here is the link we just made that says Steve is awesome, that goes back to the Mañana No Mas website. And this whole thing functions, right? Now, see how everything is on the left 2/3 of the page, okay? This is easy enough. If you don't like this, just click edit page. And you're going to see you've got a couple of areas that you can make some changes in. You have page attributes, right? And I got to move my thing again. There we go. You have page attributes. So do I want to use the default template? Well, in my theme, the default template is a 2/3 thing with a right sidebar. So I'm going to say, no, I want to go Elementor full width, right? And then I'm going to go down here and here's more options, right? Default layout set in the customizer. Your customizer is what you access like from your home page. It'll say customize at the top of your menu. I'll show you that in a second. Let's say I want to go no sidebar, full width. And let's resave this. I'm probably showing you more here about basics than about membership and learning so far. But I want to make sure that you can make a site that you can be proactive and efficient in making a site that you want it to look a certain way before you get too focused on the benefits of it, right? And now here we are. That changes the whole layout, right? Stretches it across the screen and centers things and gives me kind of the overall look that I'm looking for, right? So right there, if you put in Astra, remember Astra is a good basic theme and it's compatible with Lifter LMS. Boom, that's important. And then you've got Elementor. So now you've got a visual editor that you can go in and you can change the layout of things and move things around pretty easily. That's really important. The one thing I didn't show you in Elementor to show you how simple something is to add stuff. And I'm not going to go through this whole process. I just want you to see, like if I wanted to take an element out or if I wanted to add an element. So let's say I didn't like this section and I wanted to get rid of it. It would be as simple as deleting the section and it's gone. Let's say I want to add a section. It's as simple as adding a section, picking the layout that I want for that section. So let's say I want one that goes across the whole frame. You can see here it is right here, but I don't want it here. I don't want it at the bottom. I want it further up. Well, I can drag it up, right? So I can drag it up and I can put it right there. And then right here, when I click that plus button, that opens up my menu on the left side. And now I can move whatever I want into that section. See where it turns blue? That tells me it's there. I can highlight that. Nope. Remember, I'm not working there. That's the stage. So I can highlight this and say, here's the sample. Here's the sample. Okay. So now that gives me my title right there. Let's say I want to change that again. If I wanted to go back and change its appearances, whoops, sorry. If I want to change the appearance, I can go into style and I can go into advanced. And when I start playing with things in here, see how I'm changing the spacing, right? So if I'm adding padding, I'm adding space around it. If I want to add margin, I'm coming in from the side, right? I can do a motion effect. You guys play with this stuff. You can change all kinds of things. So like positioning, do I want it to come, inner, outer, how do I want to move things around? And so all of that is there for you. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and close that. Okay. Because I don't really want to save anything that's in there. All right. I'm going to go back out. And now that we have seen how to make a page, let's go focus on why we're here. We're here to talk about a learning and membership website. Now, the learning part and the membership part is all handled by Lifter LMS. It's one of the most powerful tools I've ever used on the internet. I've been with them for years, and I really, really believe in the product and the support. And I'll just be honest, I really like Chris Badgett. I mean, having been part of his mastermind calls and following him on social, and I even have a social club that he checks into every now and then, and it's just really cool. I get along with the guy really well, and I like the product. So I'm going to give you all that right up front. So if it sounds like I have favoritism, I absolutely do. So Lifter LMS, when it loads into your site, you're going to get this menu for Lifter LMS, right? So I'm going to click on that and open it up in the main windows here. So Lifter LMS gives me settings, reporting, import, status, labs, and then add-ons. Labs is also an add-on. You have to go and get Lifter LMS labs to add to your install. So make a note of that. There's some things, labs is kind of a silly thing. It's you don't need it to make the website work, but there's some cool things that you can do in there, right? And so settings, reporting, import, status, all of that. So if I go into settings, I can go right across the top: general, courses, memberships, accounts, checkout, engagements, notifications, integrations. And this is how you can control how your Lifter LMS part of your website interacts with your people. Now, this part's interesting where it says activity this week. If you have activated, taking manual payments, if you have used vouchers and put people in manually as in groups and stuff, you're not going to see a lot of this, right? Like your numbers aren't going to make a lot of sense. But if you have leveraged the e-commerce side of your website and everything's running through the way that, the site's set up, then that's going to be pretty accurate for you, right? For your activity. So courses. This is not a list of courses. This is how the courses are treated by your website. So your courses are going to be stored in a course catalog. You have, you pick how many courses you want to show per page, and then how the catalog sorts the courses, right? And so that's course setting. Membership setting, same thing. How the website treats memberships, how the website treats the accounts, and then how to set up your checkout strategy, whether it's PayPal or Stripe, or how you've got that set up, right? Engagements is interesting. Watch this screen. As engagements comes up, you'll see that you can customize your outgoing messages with your logos or whatever you want it to be, right? That's nice because Lifter will send notifications out to people. You don't need Groundhog to send the notifications. So I have a lot of functions where Lifter LMS is sending notifications to people like, hey, welcome to the new course. Hey, it's been a while since you've signed in, check this, right? So there's that. So there's that. There's certificates that people can get, and there's different formats that people can be reached out to. Gosh, I'm trying to pause and say things that make sense. Hopefully that does for you. Now, notifications to me, think about this. If you have students, you want to engage with the student, right? You want to make sure you meet the student on every level. So whether they are using their cell phone or their computer or a tablet or whatever they're doing on the site, you want to make sure you acknowledge what they do. And Lifter LMS comes with just a whole list of notifications that the site's going to power up for you. And this happens automatically, right? So I can go in here and say achievement earned. So every time a student earns an achievement, boom, they get a notification. That notification is a pop-up that comes up on the top end of the screen, right? And then I say, I've graded an assignment. They get an email. An assignment's been submitted. They get an email, right? Certificate earned. They get a notification at the top of the screen. And so all of these things are set up in different ways. And if I want to change the configuration, well, then I can go in and I can say, okay, certificate earned. I want to change the configuration to how that notification is sent. I can go in here and say, okay, they get a mini certificate, bam, 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 right? Hopefully, you'll see that's fairly simple and straightforward, right? Integrations are the different elements that Lifter LMS makes available for me. And so if I want to have more of a social website, I can put in BuddyPress, ConvertKit, right? Remember I was talking about there's plugins, set your expectations at the beginning. Remember that one of that first slides I showed you. So know what you want to do with the site and then activate only what you need to make that happen. So I'm using Groundhog to take care of my customer communication. Well, ConvertKit takes care of customer communication. So I don't need to activate ConvertKit, right? So it's not installed and it's not enabled. Gravity Forms It's not installed and it's not enabled because I use WP Forms, right? Here's Lifter LMS WP Forms. Boom, installed, ready to go. Now I have WP Forms Pro, and so it's already working for me in the back end of that. MailChimp, I use Groundhog, so I don't have MailChimp activated. It's tempting when you download the package, especially if you pay for the Infinity bundle. You're like, oh, I got to plug all this stuff in. When you plug it all in, all you do is confuse your website and you confuse your people. So you want to make sure that you set your expectations and then you only take action with the things that make sense to your project, right? So all that's there. That's the Lifter LMS menu. Lifter puts in a bunch of menus. So courses is another menu, right? I'm going to open that up for you. And courses is going to show, you can add a new course. There's different categories. There's difficulties. There's tags. I know that Carol does stuff with music, right? So she could actually break her courses into, entry level, apprentice and expert, right? And I don't know how you divide music people up in talent, right? But you could say sucks is pretty decent and is awesome, right? And you could set that up and set the difficulties for your classes along with the students' capabilities. You could do that, right? There's tracks. Tracks is like, hey, if someone takes these courses and this series of memberships, they can get to, the mass certification, the premier level, right? You can set tracks up like that give people kind of a pathway to success. And then there's lessons and reviews, right? Memberships. This is also part of Lifter LMS. When you go into memberships, these are the different ways that you can group your courses together and then offer your courses to other people. So if I wanted to add a membership, I would say, boom, add a membership. And I'll probably use Carol again as the example because we already have a web page for her. All right. So I will say Carol's Magic, right? So there's Carol's Magic. God, it's even going to correct me. Look at that. Carol's Magic. Okay. So there's Carol's Magic. That's her membership. And to show you how easy this is, right? I can put whatever I want in here for a page. So let's do this. Let's add a picture. Why not? Right? You guys might as well see how easy things are. I'm going to add a picture of this guy. He's a stunningly handsome guy. That's from the page that we had put in. Remember we did the Elementor template, right? And so it takes the images from that and adds them right to your image catalog. So you're all covered there, right? Now, access plans. Access plans is where the money happens. I know that Carol's looking for a lot of success. So let's say we're going to call this the Carol plan. We're going to call it CS1 for a SKU. We're going to say make magic, right? I can make my button say whatever I want my button to say. This is going to be the button that people select to join that class. And I'm going to say that this class is $15,000, right? One-time payment and save. Now, I went through that really fast. There are other places on the page where you can make content look different. For instance, in the access plan, there was a space where I could have made things appear differently. Now, here's what we just made. Here's the Carol access plan for $15,000. In that access plan where I said there was a space to write or to do, you could have written a whole description in here with bullet points and put pictures in if you wanted to. But I just wanted to make a simple button. Okay, so here is her membership page. Now, let's say anyone that signs up in see where auto enrollment was? I just clicked that. Anyone that signs up for Carol's page is going to get access to a couple of courses. So I'll say the 5-day course for healthy success and the After the Challenge. So those are two of my courses, and I put them right into Carol's membership, right? So we've got an access plan where someone's going to pay $15,000 and automatically get access to these two courses, right? Man, Carol, you're kind of greedy. And then we go publish. It says, are you ready to publish? Sure, we're ready to publish. Why not? Okay. Publishing memberships does take a little bit of time. I've noticed my website works really kind of slow on publishing a membership, and it'll say to view membership here, but I like to wait until the top up here where it says saving is done. Okay, so that shows me how to build the membership. Okay, I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to try and get back to the home page here. There we go. And remember, we just built a membership. So if I click on membership catalog, my site comes up and here is Carol's Magic. Now, to make pictures happen, the picture comes from the featured image. So if I would have put a featured image in, you would have seen, a thumbnail here for Carol's Magic. If I click on Carol's Magic, it's going to come right up with a sales page. I could have put any content in here for a sales page, right? Video, whatever I wanted to do, I could have put that in there. And then I could say, make magic. When I click make magic, it's going to take me right to a payment page that's going to say, I want to pay $15,000 to join Carol's Magic, right? And that's as simple as it is. Everything that I just showed you is stuff that automatically happens in, and I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to edit the membership and delete it. Okay. And that is everything that happens direct with Lifter LMS, right? And so how much easier is that, right? I'm going to move that to trash and get rid of it. I think I'm going to move it to trash. Here we go. Here we go. There it goes. It's already been deleted. Thank goodness. All right. I'm going to go back to our dashboard. And of course, the number one thing that people are really wondering now is, well, that's fantastic, Kurt, but how in the heck do I make the content that goes into the core? Like, how do I make the content that goes into those memberships? Well, that's under courses. Remember, we showed you courses before, but now I'm going to show you how to actually add a course. Lifter LMS has a thing called Course Builder, right? So let's add the course. And I'm going to use Carol again as the example because she just seems so flexible in that. And I haven't seen any yelling or screaming yet telling me not to. So Carol's sample again. Okay. Bada boom, bada bing. Again, I can add whatever I want in here, right? This is the same kind of thing that you've seen before. And then here's the sales page. I can have an access plan for just a course. Remember, I can sell the courses a la carte, or I can make the courses part of a membership, right? And so I can build an access plan in there, all that. Now see where it says sales page content? I can build this so someone that hasn't yet bought the course sees one page of content, and someone that's already a student signs in and they see a different page of content like, hey, welcome back to Carol's sample course. We see that you're making great progress. How would you like to do something different? And so you could have two different pages, one that is for people that are signed in and one that is for visitors that haven't yet signed up for the course, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do. Restrictions, you can say you can't take this course unless you take this other course first. There's all kinds of options. So there's all of this here. Now, when I click in the blank space over here in the main part of my course, it opens up all of this, okay? All of this on the right side if you see my mouse working, okay? Featured image is where I put in the thumbnail. An excerpt is where I can put in a description of the course that comes up right underneath the course under the heading, right? Start of course, I could select a special date that's going to start or a date that's going to launch, or there's all kinds of options there. But here's what I wanted to show you, the course builder. When I launch the course builder, I want to leave. When I launch the course builder, it's going to go right into this blank page over here, and it's going to say section, new lesson, and existing lesson. So when most people build a course, there's usually like an introduction, content, and a summary, or an introduction, content, review, resources, summary, right? But there's usually sections. So figure out what those sections are going to be. So I'm going to say I got 3 sections. Okay. See how easy that was? I clicked that button 3 times and I got 3 sections. So I'm going to say introduction. Oops. Introduction. Content. And resources. And I will show you the one thing that is learning from my mistakes. See down here where it says save changes? Every now and then you got to come down here and hit save changes. If you get too far ahead or get too far ahead of yourself adding a bunch of content here and this goes to save, sometimes it can kind of get like a little hiccup in it and you end up having to redo a bunch of stuff. So I wait till it says saved, and then I want to highlight where I'm going to go. I'm going to say lesson. So now I can add lessons under introduction. And this would be like, why this course, right? Even put a question mark in there if you want. Okay, why this course? And then I would build content in there that kind of tells the student, hey, why did I make this course? What's the benefit to you? Blah, blah, blah. And then I go under content and I'll say, oh, not sections. Deleting's easy. Just click the trash can, right? And the trash can makes it go away. So I click on content and I say new lesson, right? And since we're talking to Carol, we're going to say drums is a lesson and the saxophone is a lesson. Okay. See how easy this is? I'm just building it out. So this is like the outline. This is the framework for how a course is made, right? Everything I want to put in here, I'm going to be able to structure and make it organized and think of it as the way a student goes through content, right? What is the best pathway to success, and how can I ensure that I get the right information to my student at the right time in the right order? Well, this is what the course builder allows us to do. So I can do a couple of different things. I can go directly back to WordPress. Well, I got to wait till it's finished the saving down here. It's saving changes. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, baby. Let the good times roll. Up here where it says, why this course? This was already saved, right? So if I click here, open WordPress editor, that'll go right back to the WordPress editor, and it will allow me to edit that lesson inside WordPress. And so I can use this to go back and forth, right? The other thing that I can do is I can say exit here. When I exit here, it's going to take me back to the course page where we launched the course builder, right? Remember, this is called the course builder, right? And so this is one of those things where it's super flexible in how you go back and forth. When I want to edit that lesson, here we are. We're right in the lesson now. And so if I want to go back to the course page, this will take me back to the course page. There'll be another one up here when that next lesson saves. It'll save right here. And then I can say, why this course? So I can go in here and I can add content. Let's do that. Add some content. Okay. Now you're going, well, all the content's in the wrong place. Well, using the Gutenberg editor, you can just bump that content up where you want it, right? And let's say I want the mark complete to go all the way down at the bottom. I can do that too, right? I can move anything around that I want to move around. If I have a video that I want to put in that page, let's see if that's still saved. Yep. So there's my YouTube embed, right? So now let's update this. And I've really gone through this quickly, so hopefully you've been able to stick with me here on this. So I'm updating. If I want to view the lesson, remember I just put that YouTube video in there, right? So boom, it puts the YouTube video right in. Here's the content that we were writing. Remember, I moved that content up in the screen. I moved mark complete down to the bottom of the screen. And then here were the other layers of content that we had, right? And so you can see that I could move anything I want around inside the screen. And in my lessons, I generally have a right sidebar that comes up that would say, here's the progress of the course, here's where you are in the course, and here's how this goes. And that builds out as I go, right? And so hopefully that gives people an idea of how the course builder works. Okay, I'm going to go back in here. So we've covered the Lifter LMS menu, the courses, the memberships, engagements. Engagement is a super cool tool. Remember the notifications I showed you in the Lifter LMS menu? This is where you build those. So if I want to add an engagement, I add an engagement and I could send an email, an SMS message, or create a PDF certificate that someone can download. And I can do all that right in this menu, right? Orders is how Lifter LMS tracks the orders that people make. Now, what's really, really cool about this is, let's say, what's a good example? Okay, I sell training to power sports dealers. So let's say GoAZ, which is a big network of a lot of dealers, right? Let's say GoAZ gets in touch with me from the corporate office and they say, hey, Kurt, we want to train our people, but we don't want each person to have to sign up and pay $1,500 for a year's access to get access to your course. We want to be able to handle everything with central billing, and we have 100 people that want to take the course. So I'm thrilled, right? Because that's $1,500 times 100 students. I'm super excited about that. And then they go, but to do that, we're going to want a 20% discount. Okay, fine, whatever. Figure out the math, right? Tell them how much it's going to be. And then look how cool this is. I go into vouchers. I can say add a voucher, and I can say, and again, this is just an example, right? I can say go AZ. They're going to have access to, whatever the courses or the memberships are, right? And I'm going to say Power Sports Fixed Operations, because that's the course that I sell, right? And then I'm going to say, how many did they have, right? So the number is 100. They had 100 people, right? And I can say new codes with this or added use per code. And I know that sounds confusing, but let's say I want to add it like I want everyone to have the same code. I could do that, right? Numbers with one code. But let's say models with one code. I can only generate 50 rows at a time. Sorry about that, folks. Now I'm screwing you up. 50. Boom. So I just generated 50 vouchers, each with a separate code. So what I do is I can export this list. Export as a CSV. Are you following me? Because this one sometimes confuses folks. I can export as a CSV. I can export this whole thing as a report, and I can send this report to the person at the dealership, right? And here's how I can add 50 more. If I want to add 50 more to have 100, right? I can export that to my customer, and I can say, here are your 100 codes, right? And then they can take their 100 employees and they can import that information into their spreadsheet. And then they can track all the employees that they have and all of the people and all the access codes. I can do you one even better. And this is brand new. This is brand new in the system. So I'm not going to publish that. I want to get out of there. There's a thing called groups. Yeah, I want to leave. I don't want the changes to be saved. So there's a thing called groups. And I can go in and I can add a group, and then I can give those vouchers or those email addresses to all of their employees. I can assign them to that group. And then the person that was my point of contact at that business could be the administrator for that group. And then they could see the activity of all 100 people in there. And they could see who signed in, who hasn't signed in, what progress they've made, things like that. And so an example of what one of those groups might look like, I'll show you one here that I have. This is a group that I've got. It's got 2 different motorcycle dealerships. I've got different members that are signed up. They can add pictures. They can skip the pictures. This is the membership that they all have access to, right? And so anyone that signs into this group is going to say, okay, this is what I have access to, right? And then if I wanted to add members, remember I said we could send invites. We could use the vouchers, or we could have people pay, give them the vouchers, and then we can add them in through this page if we want, right? And so we can manage our members in this way, and we can add members and say, okay, what's your email address, right? Boom. If I add the email address and send the invitation, that invites them to the group, which absorbs a voucher, which keeps everything on the QT. The person in charge of the group was going to say, oh, well, so-and-so just joined the group and they have access to these courses, and this is the progress they've made, right? Now, let's say we go another direction. Let's say I have a content site, I'm selling music or I'm selling pictures, and I don't know who it is going to be my end user, right? Let's say I have somebody that says, hey, I'll prepay you $10,000 for $15,000 worth of access to your website. And you say, okay, well, that's great. That's 100 people, right? So they're going to prepay you $10,000 for $15,000 of access to your website. That's 100 people. And I'm playing with numbers, right? So bear with me. I can give them this link that they can share with any of the 100 people that they want to invite, right? They can share that link, and I can limit the group size. Let me close this. I can limit the group size here with how many seats are available for the group. So I can say, you have 100 seats available. Okay, so, and you'll see that change will happen over here, right? So you have 100 seats available, and I'm going to give you, oh, I missed it. I'm going to give you that link, right? Remember in members, we had the link. So I'm going to send this link to you, and you can share this with as many people as you want. But when you cap out at 100, you've spent your money. And that gives you the ability to kind of, pre-fund your activities and gives you the income and the capital, right? You can capitalize your project so that you can keep moving forward and developing more things. Hopefully that is all making sense to you. Okay, let me go back to, I'm going to close that down, and let me check my live, make sure that we're still okay there. I'm going to stop the screen share, see if there's anyone that I've got to check in with. Let's refresh, make sure we're not missing things. And we're at 11:36. This is one of the longest Facebook Lives I've ever done in my life, but it looks like it's still publishing, so that's awesome. And let's check in over here. And Carol, I just tried to unmute you. How are you holding in there? You doing okay?
I am, thank you.
There's a lot of information here. Is there anything I need to repeat or clarify for you?
I don't believe so. There's, yes, a lot of information. You've done a great job.
Okay.
Explaining.
That's kind of the Lifter LMS preview. I'm going to go into the Groundhog preview. I'm just going to show you the back end of the Zoom thing so you can run Zoom meetings right inside your site, which is really fun. And then WP Forms is kind of self-explanatory if you've used any kind of web form before. So I don't know that we need to really go into that too deeply, but it's 11:37. I've got about 15 to 20 minutes, and I just wanted to kind of set the expectation to let you know where we're at. Are you good?
Great.
Good. And it looks by the flow of comments on the other page that we're all caught up there too. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to go back to the shared screen and keep moving forward. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. All right. We're going to go back into shared screen over here. And we're back in the presentation. Hopefully this is what you're seeing. One of the things I did not cover going over the Lifter LMS thing was the social learning. And when we go back into the back end of my website, I'll try and show you a little more of just what the social learning is. It's like Facebook inside your own website, and it allows students and groups to communicate that might not otherwise connect, which I think is really cool. And what I like about it is, let's say I'm doing a course on weight loss, which I sponsor in my website, right? So weight loss and fitness is a big thing for me. I just dropped 65 pounds 3 years ago. So when I'm talking to folks about weight loss, and let's say some woman gets on there and she's not having body positivity, right? And she's afraid of trolls and people saying, put some clothes on or whatever. They don't want to put their stuff out on Facebook, right? There's a lot of people that don't want to share publicly, but they want to have a connection. They want to be able to communicate with other people. And that's where social learning is awesome, because you're giving people a familiar social platform, but in an intranet without all the other prying eyes that might show up, which is kind of cool. All right. So I'll show you the back end of that there when we go back in, because that's a really quick tour. So I showed you lessons, courses, memberships, the social learning I forgot about. We'll get back to that. And groups, I showed you groups, which is the newest thing. That's actually still in beta. What groups is going to do, what I'm told it's going to do, is it's going to allow people with the learning site to actually have like kind of a single pay example where you're going to be able to use that group link to coordinate with the administrator of the group to take care of the e-commerce side of running that group as well. So you won't have to chase down vouchers and single payments and stuff. You'll be able to handle it right through the group page, which is kind of cool. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is running a full CRM in the back end of your website. I'm going to make this one pretty quick, right? And that's because the documentation and the help that Groundhog gives people is really pretty fantastic. So I'm going to give you the quick tour of it. And then if you decide to go this route, if you want to have everything inside your own website too, again, I'm going to press hey, please use my affiliate link. But when you use my affiliate link and you sign up with Groundhog, you'll be able to build all this stuff yourself inside your own website instead of relying on a third party to manage the data for you, right? So if you look what we've got over here, you've got a full customer resource management in your self-hosted environment, can handle emails, newsletters, sales funnels, course reminders, and appointments. Now, I know the course reminders, I already mentioned that in the lifter once, but what's really cool is like if you start to leverage Groundhog efficiently, you can start to do almost everything at Groundhog, right? And then it kind of puts everything together, which I really like. Course reminders, you can almost build it like a funnel, which is more fun than a standard notification. So by a funnel, that means you could say it's been a week since someone hasn't signed in. You send them an email, right? So the system says, and they send an email that says, hey, it's been a week since you signed into your course. We just wanted to remind you that it was there and that you've got access to it and blah, blah, blah. Trying to add value, right? Then you wait 2 days. You don't wait, the system waits because you set up a funnel, right? So you wait 2 days and it'll say, hey, we sent you a reminder a couple of days ago. We see you still haven't been into your course. Are you having issues with your username or your password, or do you need more assistance to regain access to your content? You're still adding value, but it's your second reminder, right? And then you can send another reminder in 2 or 3 days that says, hey, what's the deal, bub? You're going to finish or not? Do you have goals that you want to accomplish or not? And then you can get a little bit pushier, but you want to drive people to course completion, right? Online course completion is a big issue, and you don't want to have an online academy where you have a low course completion ratio, right? You want to make sure that you have people that you're adding value to and that they're getting the value that you're trying to give them. And sometimes they just need a nudge that way. And Groundhog does a really good job of that. There's the affiliate links that I showed you before. Again, if you would screenshot that or share that with your friends, that does a world of help for me. So that would be fantastic. I'm going to give that about 5 more seconds so you can screen share it if you want. And then I'm going to close that screen share and then open up my other screen and go to the back end of Mañana No Mas again. Okay, stop that screen share. Let's go to the next screen share and open up the back end of the website again. Okay. So here we are in the back end of the website. We had started to build that course. That was Carol's sample. And I am going to go back into my dashboard. Okay. Now, Groundhog has a lot of options. When you sign up for Groundhog initially, in their website, there's going to be a page that's going to say add-ons. And it's huge. I don't know, 37, 38 different add-ons that you can plug in, different integrations with, different form providers, different, all kinds of stuff. And I don't want to go into it because quite honestly, it becomes overwhelming, especially for a short seminar like this. But the main things are contacts, tags, contracts. Social proof was one of the add-ons I put in. Emails, that's a root thing, right? You need that. SMS is a great addition to have. Broadcasts is part of the core of it. Funnels is part of the core of it. And I believe calendar was part of the core of it as too. Payments, really cool. This was an add-on, but I can use Stripe and I can literally just build a quick invoice and email it to somebody out of Groundhog, just like that. And so that's a pretty cool tool to have too. But contacts is interesting, right? So contacts is what you think it is, right? It's just a database of all of the different people that have been, in fact, there's Carol right there, right? She was the last person to sign into the list and be confirmed for that. And you see that the system gave her a confirmed tag. So the next time I make a newsletter, her newsletter is going to come up in this group, right? With the confirmed people. And then that newsletter goes out from this part of the website. So that part works really, really, really well, right? Now, if I want to edit Carol, and I can do that, I can jump right in and click on that and I can edit whatever I want. I can put in pictures, company names, addresses, whatever I want to do. And I'm going to try and get out of there as quickly as I can because maybe people don't want me to share all their stuff, right? But this is contacts. Now, let's say I want to make an email and I want to send that out to people. So what I want to do is I want to make the email first. And what's nice about Groundhog is it gives you a bunch of templates. So I say add new, and then here are templates. Now, here are some of the newsletters that I've made previously, right? If I want to build something that is like something I've already built, I can take one of these and it'll start a copy of it and just let me type over it, which is really, really nice. But if I wanted to do like a template from, I don't know if I have any save template. I thought that was, yeah, there's the save template I did when COVID broke out. And then there's pro templates that came with the pro sign up that I got through Groundhog. And so this is like an appreciation email, a review request, confirmation email. You can see that it tells you what it's about, right? And let's say I want to do a call to action. So I'm going to say start writing. That's going to open up email right here. And this is super, super simple. Remember what we did in Elementor. We use this part as the stage, and this part is where the work happened. It's going to be the same process. So I click over here. I want to put in an image. I'll pick my algebraic equation that equals my business, right? That's easy enough to put in. Let's say I want to add another picture, right? So I click off of the email over here in the gray space, and that gives me the options to add. So I want to add an image, and I'll put that down there, and I'll say, okay, let's go pick a different image. And I'm just doing this to show you how easy it is to move stuff around. There's my logo for Mañana No Mas, and I put that right in, right? Let's say I want to change this button. I can change this button to go back to my website, right? So there is that one. I can say, click me now. I can change anything I want here, right? I can say, jump in, right? Jump in, jump in. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Jump in, Mañana No Mas. If I want to change the color, boom, I can make it a red button, right? And if I want to put in a specific code, let's say I want to do 7D3434. That's a popular one for me. I like this dark red. And so I can make it custom, right? You can do any kind of custom color you want. If I want to change this text, again, I work in the left side and it changes in my screen for me, right? So that's how you can see that. Now, see all these are your insert codes, right? So, hey, first is going to go to first name in the contact list. Best of luck, the business name, where it says business name, that's going to say Mañana No Mas, because that's what I put in my settings, right? So all of that is going to be automatic. And so when I'm ready to send an email like that, I can say that that's ready. And if I want to see what it's going to look like before I send it, I can say update and test and send that to an email address that I have access to. Okay, and that's where you say email updated and boom, boom, boom. If I like the way that looks in my sample email, it's as simple as closing that down. Okay, and now you can see, here's the call to action that we just made. Now, if you don't change the title of these things, you're going to end up with a bunch of things called the same thing, and that's going to be a pain in your rear end. So you want to go up anytime you're working, you want to see up here where it says now editing, you want to make sure that you relabel whatever it is that you are working on, right? So now I'm going to say save again. And you know, I keep saying learn from my mistakes. There's a reason why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing right now. When I first started working with Groundhog, I wasn't changing the title to the funnels, and all my funnels started having the same name. And then when I wanted to like use the funnel, when I wanted to embed the funnel somewhere, I didn't know which one to pick, right? It became a real frustration. So now when I close this, you'll see that this will say Carol Sample inside the list, right? So if I wanted to do anything with that email now, it's already made. Now's when I can worry about distribution. So think of using Groundhog like you have to build an inventory and then distribute the inventory. Build the inventory, distribute the inventory. So how am I going to distribute this email? I'm going to put it into a broadcast. And this is the cool part, right? I go in here and I say, schedule an email broadcast, select an email. It's going to list all the emails that I have written so far. And we are going to look for Carol's sample. There it is. And it says ready because I saved it as ready. And now I can pick any one of the lists that I want, any or all of the people that I have on different parts of my list. And I have my list segmented in different things, right? Like I'm the only administrator. So that's a safe one for me to do a broadcast to for you guys for a sample, right? So I can say this, and I can say, send it on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Or I could say, send it now, right? So I can either schedule it or I can change it to whatever I want it to be. Does that make sense? I hope that I'm saying things in ways that make it clear. But I can either schedule it or I can say send now. And then I say schedule the broadcast. And you'll notice this click here. I could say schedule in the contact's local time as well, right? And so review your broadcast before scheduling, send to one contact. It's going to send in 9 seconds. And I get this little thing that leads across here, and it says process 1 is done. And so that email was just sent to me. But obviously, you know, if I have a mail list that's 3,000 people deep, I could say select all of the confirmed list of 3,000 people, send it at a specific time. And I could send it at a specific time in their own time zone, which is really, really cool. If you do any kind of research on mail lists, you'll see that Tuesday mornings is still the highest open rate for most emails getting sent. And so if you're trying to have a high open rate, maybe you want to schedule your newsletter to go out every Tuesday morning. I try to do my newsletters like Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning because I'm trying to hit people like when they get to the office kind of thing. But there are times that I miss it, ends up going out on Friday afternoon instead. But as a point, if you want to schedule it, you certainly can. All right, I am going to get rid of that. Off it goes, delete, apply, go. All right, and so that kind of gives you kind of the background of what Groundhog can do. I can build messages and I can send messages, which works really, really well. That's the messaging part. The funnel part that I started to talk about, and I probably confused people, was talking about building a funnel and waiting the time, right? Let me just show you how this works. You guys are signed into the Webinar Learning and Management seminar. This is the funnel I built for that. And so this will show you how this works. Now remember, when someone takes action inside the funnel, it changes the funnel. So like if I say, hey, a reminder to do this, a reminder to do that, a reminder to do this. When somebody signs in or does whatever the reminder says, it cancels the funnel out, right? So you're not sending people bizarre emails after the fact, right? But let's say there's a form that we're going to want to have. Remember the form that was on the web page for the webinar that you signed into to get access to the webinar? Well, that form comes right from this page, right? And if I want to see what that form looks like, here's the preview of it. Come on, baby. There we go. First name, last name, email. And when someone signed up for the webinar, they got added to the list, right? And so send the webinar confirmation email. So it sends a confirmation. I'm trying to follow all the GDPR rules about growing my mail list. If you listen to Dave Gambrill at all, he's going to tell you about 19 times a week to grow your email list. It's one of the most important things you can do, right? And so, but when you do it, you want to follow the rules. I recently went through a thing where I ended up my email list from MailChimp got contaminated with another source's mail list. And I was so leery with GDPR rules and living in California that I deleted the entire list and started from scratch at the beginning of the year, right? That sounds crazy. I know it sounds nuts, but you got to be really careful with how you build your list, but you want to build your list. And so here's the webinar confirmation. Your registration has been confirmed. And here's the email that I sent to people, right? And then close that out. Okay. So here's how it works. Waits 2 days before the seminar, send a 2-day reminder. Wait 1 day before, send a 1-day reminder, right? So that's saying, hey, in 2 days, you got a seminar coming up. Hey, tomorrow you have a seminar coming up, the day of reminder. This is where I put the call to action email in, right? So here's your call to action. Come on. Again, I branded it. I use that dark red color. Here's the algebraic equation that equals my company. And this is, I told everyone to grab a notepad, a pen, and some caffeine, right? Because I talk fast. And I'm not planning on doing a scheduled replay, so you want to be in for the live, right? Join the call. This link took people right to the Zoom message that was supposed to open up for Zoom for them, okay? close that down. Okay. And then wait to see if they watched, and that this funnel can keep going if I want it to, right? So I can add different layers in. If I want to add things to the funnel, I can add a step. It's as simple as that. I can say, boom, add a step. What do I want to do? If I wanted to have people that, let's say that people that signed up for this webinar automatically got added to a course, I could do that. I could say, okay, here is change enrollment. I want to, where'd it go? Add. Boom. Right? And then I can sign people up for a course as they sign up for the webinar. How cool would that be, right? Hey, join my free webinar and get access to this course. That's a great loss leader. Or how about I could put really simple payments in? That's where we start getting kind of fancy dancy, right? I could say, hey, now that you've finished the webinar, I'm going to send you this invoice, and this invoice will get you access to this membership. And that's something that we could look at doing, right? Send in here's a lifter LMS action, right? I could do anything that I want the funnel to do, I can set up in this page. So I can enroll them in a course. I can say that you've completed the course. Let's say I was doing a funnel that let people test out of a lesson so that they could finish the course without having to do the lesson. Let's just say. Well, then I could say lesson completed, because if they complete the funnel, lesson completed. This is a great way to aggregate homework and stuff like that, right? And being able to communicate with people in an automated two-way function. So people could send in a form, get an answer, send in a form, get an answer, and then get the lesson completed, and then send them a certificate. You could do all that right through a funnel function. Okay. I'm going to close this so I don't ruin what I've got without saving, right? So I don't want to save anything that I've changed in there. I want that to keep working. And so that's how funnels work. And so you'll see this all the time. Russell Brunson and all these guys with ClickFunnels and all these sales tools that people are throwing around, right? With landing pages. So the thing that you guys signed up for this webinar, you went to a landing page. That was the thing with the bulldozer that said, are you under construction? And then had the form. That's the landing page, right? And then that has the form that puts you in the funnel. The funnel gave you the messages and gave you the reminders to get here for the seminar. And then we just move forward, right? And I've got a couple of different landing pages where I'm able to track, okay, which ones had the highest open rate, which paid ads got people to come to the seminar more, and then you can track all these different things. And it's so much easier to do it in your own property than to have someone else that you're paying a third party for subscribing to try and manage that for you. Zoom meetings. People always ask, how do you do these Zoom meetings? And how do my Zoom meeting announcements have Mañana No Mas branding instead of Zoom branding? And that's because, remember the plugins? If you go to the plugin menu and you say add new and you go Zoom integration, there's a Zoom integration plugin. I put that in. And so here you see on my left side, Zoom meetings, and here's my meetings, right? And so my website is connected to my Zoom account. And when I want to add a new Zoom meeting, I click add new and I add the title of my meeting, right? So I will call this Samples Are Us, right? Models are here. There we go. I bet you my wife just loves the fact that I have models in my seminar. And then I can put anything I want in here for my content, right? I can add pictures if I want. I can do all kinds of cool stuff. I can go down here and say select the host. Now, this is cool. It's connected to my Zoom account, which is kurt@mañananomas.com. But if I have multiple instructors, different instructors can put their schedule in the back end of the website too, right? So who's the meeting host? Well, how many accounts do I have attached to the site? And I can pick who I want to host it. When do I want to do the thing? So let's say I want to do it Friday and I want to do it at noon, right? I could totally do that. And then I could say that's the time zone and it's going to last for an hour. The password's going to be sample. And do I want to let people join the meeting ahead of me? Do I want to let the video start right away? Do I want to record it, right? I always like to record stuff that I do. I put it on my local drive, right? I got a big external hard drive. I store a bunch of stuff in there. So I like to record things. And then boom, there's my meeting, right? I can say, publish that meeting. And I'm going to publish it. And folks, we are down to just minutes, so I'll be able to get you guys out of here pretty quick. All right, so now that meeting is published. Remember, it's called Samples Are Us. I can go to Live Meetings. Live Meetings is a little distracting, which is why I went to this menu. You don't see anything in Live Meetings until you pick the user that you want to see. Right, so if you had multiple users, you would have to pick the right user, right? And then here are some of the meetings that I do, right? This is like what my life looks like. I'm on Zoom quite a bit. But then here's the meeting that we just did, right? Samples Are Us. The models are here. If I click on that, that takes me right into editing the meeting that we just built, right? If I want to start the meeting, I can start the meeting via the application or right in my browser right there. But if I want to take the meeting, whoops, see where it says copied to clipboard? If I want to take that short code, I can take that meeting and I can put it anywhere that I want to put it. So let's go back to Pages. Okay, and here's Carol's sample. Do you guys remember that? Carol's sample. Let's edit with Elementor. This takes us back to the page that we created near the beginning of the seminar. Here's the logo and all that stuff, right? And let's say here's a widget. I want to go and find short codes, and I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. I always have a hard time finding short code. Here it is. Wow, I think that was the quickest. That might have been a record. All right. The short code thing is right here, right? Remember, this is your stage, and this is where the work gets done. So I go up here and I paste in my Zoom short code, and there's my meeting right there, right? So now when I want to share this meeting with people, right? If I want to share the ability to go to this meeting, I share this link. Well, it's not exactly this link because I haven't published the page yet, but I think you guys get it. When I share, let's save it. I'll actually go through it for you. There we go. And we're going to exit the dashboard. We're going to update the page. And then down here, it's going to say view page. We're going to view the page. All right. Here is the sample that we had built. And down at the bottom of the page is the Zoom meeting that we had just put in, right? And if I want to join that meeting, I can join that meeting. And my name is Bob. Hi, my name is Bob. And I don't think we check the it's okay to join the meeting early, so we get the meeting is not started message, right? And we could retry it, or we could just say okay, right? Now, if we waited till Friday and tried the same exercise, we would see that I would sign right into the meeting and it would start my video right away, right? Now, since it didn't connect, I have my settings set to go right back to the home page. So it drives users back to the home page to get them redirected on what they were trying to find. But that Zoom thing is cool, right? And so let's go back to just make sure that I have what I need. Pardon me. We are back on the presentation page. Affiliate teams. I think this is big news to share at this point of the presentation because we're almost done. If you look up here in Mañana No Mas, I've got an affiliates page, an affiliate login, and a registration for affiliates. I pay people a 20% commission for referrals. So if you refer someone to one of my memberships or my courses and they use your link, like once you register, you get your own link, you get 20%, which is pretty stinking cool. You know, I sell years access to Power Sports fixed operations for $1,500. So that's a $300 commission if you get someone referred into that membership. So that's a pretty healthy one. The other thing is I also pay affiliate commissions to people that refer people for web work. So if you need a package like this built for you or for a friend, refer them in and I'll make sure that you get a commission for that as well. And then I say, got time, bonus information. That's the Zoom stuff that we already went over. And that is the logo that tells me that that is the end of my presentation. So let me get the screen.